This is my dog, Gogo, and he is a rescue dog and he is an absolute angel about 90% of the time. If there is one thing I could change about him, it would be this expression. I know from having him for 2 years that he needs something when he sits up and stares at me like this, but it could literally mean anything. I want to go outside, I want food, I want butt scratches, I want a cuddle. Sometimes I have to go through all of the things that it might be to get to the one that it is, which is exhausting. Gogo has an excuse in that he's a dog and has the emotional vocabulary of approximately 12 words. Humans, however, do not have the same excuse. Yet more often than not, we use our behaviors to communicate what we feel, what we want, and what we need instead of our words. I'm a family systems therapist, and I find in my work that not only do couples have difficulty in expressing feelings in general, but they are also craving a deeper emotional connection with their significant other, which can only happen when we start talking about our feelings. One of the ways that I find helps everyone I work with, and even therapists that I train, is when you think of emotional communication in layers, like exploring the layers of a delicious cake. From the first look, you may only perceive a tiny fraction of what's going on inside. You just see the icing and the decorations. But the same is true for getting to know someone in a relationship. As you delve deeper, as you see what's inside, you get to see the more intricate facets of their personality. Oh yeah. In modern group analysis, we refer to this process of getting deeper in the way we connect as progressive emotional communication. So if you are in a relationship and you're wanting more intimacy or more connection, stay tuned, because I believe and I know from my experience that achieving deep intimacy is totally achievable for everyone. Now, if you're a therapist and you're watching this, these tools that I'm about to discuss will give you a framework to understand your client's needs, assess where they are, and what might happen in sessions to help them. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the really important parts of progressive emotional communication, the 6 layers of this cake that you need to know about to find true connection and intimacy. I'm going to give you 7 questions that you can ask yourself that will help you develop your emotional literacy and your emotional communication tools. And stay tuned to the end, because I'll show you how to download all of the handouts to this video and the most important tool and skill you need for creating emotional intimacy. Why is emotional communication important? Well, as a therapist, I hold the idea somewhere in the back of my head that every behavior, every word we speak, and even our silence communicates something. Our behaviors are a language of their own, often revealing what we feel but don't say. Now, in our relationships, this is grounds for a complete disaster. If I'm not telling you what I feel and you're interpreting my behaviors to try and decipher what I may or may not be feeling based on the ways that I am acting, then there's a lot of room for miscommunication. So an open form of communication that expresses feelings directly is vital for healthy relationships. It builds understanding and empathy, and it strengthens the bonds between us. But surprisingly or not, it's very challenging for all of us. Now, part of this comes from our backgrounds, our family, some from society and culture, and we're all different in our capacity to tolerate and express feelings. And I say that so that you might start to have some compassion for yourself and the people you're in a relationship with who might have a capacity to express and understand emotions that is just different from yours. When it comes to uncomfortable feelings like anger or disappointment, fear, things get even more challenging for us to express them. Instead, we tend to avoid them rather than acknowledge them, express them, and work through them. And that is the total opposite of what we actually want to be doing, because the process of navigating these very complicated or challenging emotions is actually what gives us a greater chance of understanding, connection, and intimacy. Emotional communication occurs in stages, and hopefully in a relationship, it progresses from the surface to the deeper layers, hence progressive emotional communication. If you're a therapist watching this and you work with feelings or psychodynamically, this is a good tool for you to think about in terms of your session plans. Most likely, one of your treatment goals, either official or unofficial, is to have clients move from, over the course of treatment, to the deeper, more intimate layers of their ability to communicate emotionally. Let's look at the layers of the cake. Layer 1 is the surface. And most relationships start with a hello. And this layer represents those surface interactions that can be as simple as hi and goodbye, good to see you, perhaps go as far as have a good weekend. Very little, if any, personal information is revealed, and hardly any emotional impact has been made on either party. Now, for new relationships, this is the first contact. So it's important because one person has engaged the other, even if it's only for a second. In more established relationships, this might be seen as the niceties or the mundane communications when you get through the door. And it can be dry and a bit crunchy, sure, and all of that's true. But the truth is, it's part of our culture and the way that we interact as society. So it's normal. And yet too much of it, or if we stayed at this level, relationships really wouldn't go anywhere. But this is only the start of the deep dive down into the other layers, as you will see with our fictitious couple, Ben and Jen. So at the start of the meal, Ben and Jen engage in level 1 of this communication scale: a hug, a kiss, a smile, hopefully a big warm hi. Ben might ask, how was your day? Jen might reply, it was good, how about yours? It's safe, it's surface level, it's societal, it's normal. We're not revealing much about personal feelings or thoughts though. Layer 2, I call the first date. So in established relationships, we move down a layer pretty rapidly. Our conversations extend to topics that are external to us, such as, I don't know, the latest episode of Game of Thrones, or sports, or politics, or good old-fashioned gossip. The point is, though, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about a third thing. Now, at this layer, we remain within our comfort zones. It's not threatening to talk about the third thing, Game of Thrones or gossip, but it does allow for a little bit more personal revelation. The other person gains insight into our interests, maybe, and our passions. And this stage is where common ground is discovered and the stirrings of a deeper connection might begin. So in our established relationship with Ben and Jen, Ben might start talking about his colleagues at work. You won't believe what happened at work today. Mark totally messed up his presentation. And Jen might share another story about her crazy boss. Now, if Ben and Jen remain stuck at layer 2, their relationship might start feeling superficial and unsatisfying. They'll exchange pleasantries and discuss impersonal topics, but they won't ever truly connect on a deeper level. Over time, this could lead to a sense of frustration and unfulfillment as their relationship lacks depth. It lacks the richness that comes from sharing feelings and experiences with each other. And eventually, this dynamic contributes to a lot of dissatisfaction and even resentment. They might feel like they're just going through the motions without really connecting on any meaningful level, which is true. It might also be quite confusing for either of them because they'll have spent a lot of time together, but might not feel close or connected. When you understand progressive emotional communication, that makes sense. At the next layer, our conversations take on more of a personal tone. We begin sharing the foundational beliefs that govern our lives, whether those be political, religious, or cultural, if you prefer American Idol or The Voice, and which Taylor Swift album is the best. No brainer. While this seems innocent at first, it's a level of openness that can lead us into perilous territory where judgment and rejection become real threats. We're inching closer to genuine intimacy, and the stakes are getting higher. If you've seen any of my other videos, you might be familiar with my universal signs of self and other. So basically, this is a relationship between two people. So what I'm saying happens at this level is that it's no longer just self and other. Now we're beginning to share a third part of ourselves, which is our thoughts. It's a small thoughts bubble at the moment because we're still really sharing smaller details about ourselves. So Ben might share his thoughts on a book he's reading. You know, honey, I've been reading this book on climate change and it's really made me think about our impact on the environment. Jen might reply saying, I agree, it's something we should all be more conscious of. To his credit, Ben has opened up about something he's passionate about, and Jen hasn't flat out rejected him and declared herself as a climate denier, which in theory is possible, I suppose. But if their relationship stays at layer 3, Ben and Jen might start sharing more personal information with each other, but they're still avoiding deeper emotional disclosures. They'll be discussing their likes and dislikes, their personal histories, but they're not yet revealing their innermost feelings fears, and dreams. This can lead to a relationship that, while more personal, still lacks true emotional intimacy. And over time, this could result in a sense of being disconnected, as they're sharing parts of themselves, but not their true emotional core, which is what we need to do to feel close. So the next layer down is the more serious stage. And this is the stage where we start narrating the pivotal stories that shape our identities, the stories and events that have shaped our lives. It's our personal narrative, I guess. So this could be as simple as, my father never wanted me to be an actor, so I stayed away from it for a really long time, thinking it would never be possible for me to make it in Hollywood. These are personal and they're cognitive, they're thoughts and facts based with some insight. We're still not talking about feelings, but we're getting closer to being intimate. So back to Ben and Jen, Ben might decide to share more. I'm not quite sure if I'm in the right job. I keep telling myself I wanted to be an accountant, but maybe I do want to become an actor. And Jen might reply, oh yeah, I sometimes doubt if I made the right decision saying yes to my crazy boss when she asked me to come work with her. Notice that Jen didn't share her feelings about Ben's feelings of being overwhelmed, which is fine, but it is a noticeable absence that distinguishes this layer from other layers. Ben and Jen are now sharing thoughts with each other, but they're personal thoughts as well, but we've not quite moved into the world of feelings yet, which is the next layer. So the next step in our emotional deep dive is to start sharing our feelings about what it is that we're sharing about ourselves. So the feelings that go along with the thoughts. It's the difference between, during COVID, I got a dog and his name's Gogo and I rescued him and he's great. Or I got a dog during the middle of COVID and his name is Gogo. And I cannot begin to tell you the amount of joy, love, and delight he brings me on a daily basis. Adopting him was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Let me know in the comments below if you had an emotional reaction to one statement over the other. As a little experiential exercise to see if you connected with me more over video with one statement over the other. So option one was me revealing facts and thoughts. I revealed some personal information that I've always wanted a dog. I've never had one. It's quite intimate, but hopefully you will have experienced, felt, or heard a difference when I add some feelings into the mix. So the emotional depth of the conversation and the intensity of engagement when we talk like this skyrockets. And it's simply by adding feelings into the mix. It's also what makes relationships flourish. It also comes with a risk. You might see me as being weak if I share my feelings. You might laugh at how much I love my dog. And in your life, I'd be curious about what fears come up for you when you think about sharing your feelings. So let's imagine Jen opening up about her fears. I've been worrying about this project my crazy boss asked me to do. I just don't think I can manage it. And I already feel incompetent at this job. Really quite vulnerable, sharing her feelings. And if Ben meets her on this level, he might also say something, take a risk and share a feeling too. I'm noticing that I'm getting really frustrated at your crazy boss for piling all this work up on you. She's got no idea how hard you work. It makes me mad to think about that. Now, at the risk of making this sound totally unrealistic, Jen might share a feeling about what she experienced when Ben shared his feelings about her boss. She might say something like, that makes me feel really supported and cared for. I've been wanting to take a break for a while. Maybe we should go on a weekend getaway. So in that comment, she's sharing a feeling about Ben's statement, but she's also sharing a desire. And this is a bid for connection and suggests a longing for more time with Ben. She's also taking risks with her wishes and desires. So just a few feelings words thrown into the mix, and these two lovebirds are really starting to feel good. And I think maybe you noticed that, they could actually be in love. So how can this get any deeper, I hear you ask? Well, this is the final layer, layer 6. Now, at the heart of any deeply intimate connection is the willingness to express our feelings towards the other person. I often say that there are two types of feelings. One is the feeling that you have in yourself, but if you look closely enough, you might be able to distinguish that there are also feelings that go towards the other person. And as a therapist, I know I'm doing my job and I'm helping when I constantly badger my clients for feelings. But What really thrills me is when they reach a point and answer me with something like, I feel sad and lonely because I'm talking about my ex, but what I'm feeling towards you is really annoyed because you keep on asking me what I'm feeling about my ex. Excellent. So far, Ben and Jen have shared thoughts, opinions, feelings about themselves with each other, but it's when they go to this layer, it's a moment of profound vulnerability, it's baring your soul, because there's a chance that that other person may not reciprocate or even accept our feelings. They could blow up, they could become dysregulated, they could shame us. So sharing feelings towards another, particularly if they're angry or hurt feelings, can create a really dangerous situation where the outcome is unpredictable. And us humans loathe uncertainty and avoid it at all costs. So Ben might say, I would love to go on a weekend trip with you. And, I feel frustrated listening to you talk about your boss, but I also feel very protective of you and find myself having very caring feelings towards you. So with that one extra dimension of what Ben feels towards Jen, we're at the deepest layer of emotional communication that we can possibly get. So let's talk about you and your relationship. If you're a therapist, imagine the conversations that you have with your clients. And don't worry, I put these all on the handout so you don't have to answer these now. So my first question is, where on the emotional communication scale are the majority of your conversations with your partner? Which level do most of the interactions occur on? Now, if you notice you're up at the surface, what stops you from progressing deeper into the layers below? Is it fear of your partner's reactions, fear of being hurt? If you do share these level 6 type feelings that go towards your partner, I'm pretty confident that you share loving feelings with them. You tell them that you love them. But what about anger? What about disappointment? What about less warm feelings? And if you're a therapist, do you encourage your clients to tell you how they feel towards you when you know they're angry, frustrated, or mad at you? I try and encourage my clients to do this because the therapeutic relationship is the best place to practice these skills. So I hope after going through the communications cake that you can see how vital it is that you express your thoughts and feelings openly and honestly with your partner. That's the lower part of the cake. That's where the rich connection comes from. So you might be asking, well, how do you do that? Well, it's all about improving your emotional literacy, which you can do with the feelings wheel. And you can download one of these from my website. And it works better when you're practicing some introspection. So thinking about what you're feeling and thinking about your thoughts towards other people and your feelings towards other people. So these are 7 questions that Elliot Zeisel uses with his clients to help emotional communication. And I found that these can be a valuable tool to help understand and navigate emotional exchanges within 2 people in a relationship. They encourage introspection about your own feelings, understanding of your partner's feelings, and a more thoughtful consideration of how to respond in a way that benefits the relationship. So the first one is, what am I feeling? Identify and acknowledge your emotion. Are you feeling happy, sad, angry, confused, or something else? Recognizing your feelings is the first step in understanding them. So go grab a feelings wheel if you don't know what you're feeling. And my top tip here is that you work from the inside outwards. The words get more nuanced, but everybody can kind of tell if they're, mad, sad, or glad. The next question is, why am I feeling this way? So once you've identified what you're feeling, try and understand what's causing it. Is it something your partner did or said? Is it related to an unresolved issue in your relationship or something from your past that has been activated? Or perhaps it's just something external from work or life that's affecting your emotional state. What would I like to say or do to this person right now? Well, this question encourages you to consider your desired response to your emotions. Do you want to express your feelings to your partner? Do you want to express a need for space, suggest a solution, or take some other action? Be genuine here. It's just an exercise to get you in touch with your feelings, and we don't have to share any of this yet. It might be helpful to think in parts. Part of me wants to file for divorce, and part of me wants to tell them how hurt I am. You can have different feelings coming from different parts. What effect would it have on our relationship if I said or did what I wanted to do? So before acting on your emotions, before doing any of the things you said in the previous question, consider the potential impact it would have on your relationship. Would your desired action bring you closer together, create conflict, or have some other effect? Imagine if you said you wanted to file for divorce every time your partner forgot your coffee order, you'd get a very different reaction from saying that you felt hurt. What is my partner feeling? So at the start of this video, I said that all of our behaviors communicate a feeling. So if your partner has behaved in a way that has left you feeling upset, we might have to guess what they are feeling or what feeling they are communicating with their behaviors. So just as you explore your own emotions, try to understand what is causing your partner's feelings. This can potentially help you address the root cause of issues rather than just dealing with the symptoms. I do believe, though, it's your partner's job to do this work themselves, but it's a good exercise in empathy. Try putting yourself in your partner's shoes. What emotions might they be experiencing? Understanding their perspective can help you respond with more empathy. And the next question is tied to that is, why are they feeling that way? What do you know about what's going on in their life today or generally that might have contributed to what's going on between you both or contributed towards their behaviors? Now, if you want to get really woo-woo and therapist-y with me, think outside of the box. As a therapist, I try and keep track of anniversaries, for example. So a year since the relationship ended, 2 years since a parent died. Sometimes our feelings and moods and behaviors are unconscious and things come up in a cyclical pattern. It might not be obvious, is what I'm trying to say. What would my ego like to say or do to this person right now? This question encourages you to consider your instinctive, reactive response that is a gateway to understanding what you're feeling. This is not necessarily the response you should act on, but we're recognizing what our fantasy is because that might have valuable insight into our feelings and our motivation. So if our ego-driven response is saying, call a divorce later, you could view that as a behavior. And if all behaviors convey feelings, you might get to that you're feeling hurt or lost or unloved, whatever the feeling is. So if you were to call a divorce lawyer over a small incident about a misremembering of a Starbucks order, we might say that you were acting out on some hurt feelings. Progressive emotional communication is all about turning thoughts and feelings into words and not actions. So rather than acting out on your desired response, what feelings can you express that is a more healthy way? The more we turn our thoughts and feelings into words, not actions, the better. All right, so there you have it. We've dived into 6 layers of emotional communication, explored its importance, and we've even learned some of the tools to help you enhance it. I think it's important to remember, like any skill, improving emotional communication isn't a quick fix. It takes practice, patience, and time. So hit subscribe and follow and come join me on this journey into our feelings. Now, don't forget to download the handout from my website. Here's the link. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, like, share it with your friends. It would help me know that people want more videos like this. So I hope you keep connecting on a deeper level and go share some feelings in a healthy, productive, constructive way.